Okay, guys and gals, we're back with probably the most important lesson I think that we're gonna have in terms of AP exams. At least this is my interpretation. What I think is going to be maybe the most important graph that we're going to learn for the purposes of the AP test. Now, again, this year we're kind of flying blind, so who knows? But hopefully at this point you've had a chance to watch a couple of the other videos. Hopefully we feel reasonably decent on the four cost curves, on the fact that the AFC curve is always going down, the fact that we've got the AVC curve that mimics the shape of the MC curve being the one that looks like the Nike swoosh, and then the ATC being the upside down umbrella or the parabola. The ATC is above both the AVC and AFC curves, and then also the fact that it intersects the MC curve at the lowest point of ATC. If you didn't understand any of that, go back, watch the previous video on cost of production graphs. That's a pretty important one. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take those same concepts, a couple of those same graphs, and we're going to put them together to find out what the profit would be for a firm that's in perfect competition. Okay. Now, just to back up and review, perfectly competitive firms, those were things that we said like at a farmer's market or a roadside stand. These are typically agricultural goods. These are things that anybody could do, okay? If you wanted to sell firewood on the side of the road, if you wanted to sell boiled peanuts or carrots or whatever it is that you want to sell on the side of the road or at a farmer's market, that's an example of perfect competition or a perfectly competitive firm. In a lot of cases, it's not even a separate name of a company or anything. You just kind of get your stuff and sell it, and that's perfect competition. We see Amazon businesses, eBay businesses, same thing. That would be a weird sort of form of a perfectly competitive firm. Not a whole lot you have to do there. But for the most part, if you were to get asked in a writing format, stick with the farmer's market or the agricultural example. Okay, so flipping back to that, let's say that you have some type of agricultural business, let's say boiled peanuts. You're selling these, you're making a profit, okay? So how do we demonstrate that? Well, the first thing that we're going to have to do to show this graphically that you're making a profit, okay, we'll have our regular axis here. We're always going to have our money over here. We're going to have our quantity over here, just like we talked about last time. Okay, the first thing that I want to do in this, before I throw in a cost curve or anything, I want to go back to that sheet, the 4-column chart that we did. This was the very last test that we took in here. We used the 4-column chart as sort of our basis. Well, the first column there was perfect competition. And if you go to the bottom of that chart, you'll see that the demand curve, it said it was perfectly elastic. Perfectly elastic means that it's straight across, it's horizontal. Remember, we said it's like the E without the top bar, okay? So perfectly elastic is going straight across. So let's draw a perfectly elastic demand curve. There we go. Now, here's what makes this a little bit tough. We're actually going to have to put this demand curve as being 4 different things, okay? This is going to be our MR curve, which we haven't talked about MR yet. We'll get there. It's also our demand curve. It's also our AR curve. AR means average revenue. And it's also our price. It's all of those different things, okay? Now, the best way for me that I've taught over the years to remember this, because there's a lot going on there in this one very straightforward line, is just remember Mr. DARP, okay? All of those things are included. Just go Mr. DARP. So Mr. DARP has your MR, marginal revenue. We'll get to it. It has your D, which is your demand. It has your AR, which is your average revenue. And it has your P, which is your price. What this means is all 4 of those things in perfect competition are exactly the same. There is no difference between any of those 4 things in this graph, okay? They all equal the exact same amount, the same dollar figure. Okay, so that's my demand curve. That's my starting point. Now, the next thing that I'm going to draw on here is going to be my MC curve. Now, if you remember last time, we said MC looks like the Nike swoosh. So let's draw that. Okay, there's my MC, there's my Nike swoosh. Okay. Now, before we do anything else, because there's really only going to be one other curve that we throw onto this profit graph, but I think it's easier actually to go to this point before we get the other curve. Wherever these two intersect, wherever MR and MC intersects, that should be ringing a bell, like, wait, there's something special about that, where MR equals MC or where MC equals MR. If you go on that same 4-column chart, you go down to the bottom, you'll see what says golden rule. It's the one thing that was the same for every different type of company, whether it was perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, pure monopoly, didn't matter. The golden rule stayed the same, which is you maximize profit where MR equals MC. So if I look here, okay, here's my MR, here's my MC, here's the point that they come together or intersect. So what that tells me is that is the point of maximum profit. And so I'm going to draw a little dotted line going down and say, okay, that's my Q. That's the quantity that would give me the maximum profit if I was making these boiled peanuts and selling them on the side of the road. This is the quantity of boiled peanuts that I should make that would give me my maximum profit. Now, in the real world, we don't always know exactly what that is, okay? But we're just going to kind of analyze it in the abstract here. It's wherever MR equals MC. All right. One last graph, or not even graph, but one last little curve that we're going to have to throw on there, and that's one that we've already talked about as well, the ATC. Now remember, the ATC is our parabola. It's the big U shape, okay? And remember, it intersects the MC at its lowest point. So what we want to do, because we're saying that we're going to make a positive profit here, for that to be true, we need our ATC, which is our average cost, or the cost that we are paying as a producer for things like employees, for things like the land to cultivate peanuts, whatever it might be. Our costs have to be less than our revenue. Another way of saying it, our costs have to be less than the price we're charging consumers. So whatever it is that I'm charging a consumer for these boiled peanuts, I have to be paying less for all of my various costs. So the money coming in has to be greater than the money going out, okay? That's the concept. So my ATC, at least part of it's got to be somewhere down here, below this price or below this revenue. So I'm going to switch up actually, you know what, we'll keep it the same. I'll do the profit in a different color. So I'm going to pick a random spot. Let's say that looks pretty good. So I'll make my ATC right here, something like that. There's my ATC. Okay, so now what I want to do to show my profit on this, to show that I'm making profit, I'm going to go from that profit max point that I've already drawn, and I'm going to follow the dotted line down to where it hits the ATC, and I'm going to make another little dot. That right there represents my profit per unit. In other words, let's say, just to throw numbers out there, let's say that I am charging $4 a bag for boiled peanuts, okay? Let's say that this is $4 a bag. If my my cost at this particular point, okay, if that cost, and I'm just going to kind of jot it off to the side here, is let's say $3. What's my profit per unit? Okay, I'm making $4. My cost equals 3. I'm paying out 3. I'm making $1 a bag. Okay, that's the amount that I'm making per bag, is $1 on average. Okay, on an average, I'm making $1 a bag. So that's the average profit, but that doesn't tell me my total profit. In order to find out my total profit, well, okay, I'm making $1 a bag. How many bags did I sell? That's the key component to find total profit. How many bags did I actually sell? So to do that, all we do is we take that, we go to that little dot, and we draw a horizontal dotted line going this way, okay? Because this is sort of representing the amount of bags that we sold. So right here, we're going to have, and I'll put it in another color here. Hopefully this orange shows up okay. This rectangle right here, okay, this whole rectangle, that represents the total amount of my profit. So in other words, this whole guy right here, that rectangle represents the total amount of my profit. So if, just for the sake of argument, let's say that I sold 500 bags of boiled peanuts, at one, if I made a profit of $1 per bag, my profit would be 1 times 500. I made $500 total profit with that particular bag. Okay, I'm going to leave off there. Again, throw questions that you may have in the comments or email me or show up. Remember, Thursday at 2 o'clock, I'm having a basically an office hour where you can join in and ask any questions you might have. Also, Friday, I'll have one in the morning as well. Those should be on Google Classroom. But anything I can do to help out, please let me know. If there's things you want me to fix in the video, let me know that as well. Hopefully this helps, and hope to see you guys again soon.